Rich Paul says Zach LaVine deserves better. Me and Pat are going to talk a little bit about that on today's episode. We're also talking about Adama Sanogo officially signing his two-way contract and the Bulls Summer League roster. We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That is Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Pat, Rich Paul came out to defend his client, which an agent should do. You're talking about, should I read? I'll read the whole quote here.
Just read the quote, yeah.
I want to make this clear and clear. This whole idea that Zach has been anything but professional in this situation is false. This guy has played hurt. He has represented the franchise with class. A lot has taken place during his time with the Bulls, and he's taken the high road every time. Does every player get frustrated at times? Yes. But Zach has been the ultimate professional and deserves better. The Bulls have business to do, and we're letting them handle their business. How do you feel about that quote, Pat?
Who's talking bad about Zach?
Some Bulls fans. I think that.
I mean, if anything, okay. Listen, first off, if you're listening to the Bulls fans who are upset about him on Twitter, right? All right, calm down. Like Rich Paul, you got bigger things to worry about. Second off, I think for the most part, people have framed Zach LaVine aptly as what he is as a player, somebody who can put up a lot of points, but has not affected winning a ton and has a big contract on his name. Is any of that untrue?
No.
Who's the media member that said Zach LaVine has been a bad teammate? Who's the media member that has said Zach LaVine hasn't worked
Joe
well
Cowley
in the front? I mean, like, I don't even remember. Listen, I'm all for Joe Cowley slander, but I don't remember Joe Cowley saying his teammates hate him.
Yeah, well, no, he actually did say in that article that the teammates will welcome him back with open arms, but he did allude to it being some friction between the front office and Zach LaVine because of the choosing to get the surgery when they felt like basically Joe Cowley alluded to, I'm paraphrasing, I know somebody's going to be in the comment section quoting, is that he paraphrased it and basically said that that Zach LaVine and his agent were disappointed because they misled Zach on the destinations that he could go to, aka Detroit, and thus the franchise was misled and hurt by the Zach LaVine's decision to get optional season-ending surgery instead of taking the trade to Detroit. That's basically how Joe Cowley framed that article, and I'm guessing this is in response to that because Casey, almost any other Bulls insider, while legitimate concerns or criticisms about Zach LaVine on the court, has talked about, even when the Billy Donovan thing came out that, he doesn't want to play for Billy Donovan, Casey Johnson made sure that he pointed out, like, this is still, like, they're still amicable. Like, they respect each other. There's no crazy disrespect going on in the locker room. So I'm guessing this is a response to the Joe Cowley article, get ahead of it because of the whole trade talk and stuff like that.
But I think even that, right? Which part, like when I looked at that article, which part of that is false, right? Does Zach LaVine realize the destinations that came up weren't destinations he wanted to go to? He opted to go in and have elective surgery. That's what happened. Joe Cowley also reported that the front office was upset that Zach LaVine blew up a trade that could have been done to get assets back, and the front office was upset about that. More than likely, if I get a deal in place and I've got everything worked out and you go, oh, you can't trade me, baby, I'm going under the knife, I'll probably be a little bit upset about that. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, which part of this is Rich Paul upset about? And he's trying to frame this, and this is the one thing that Clutch does really well. They try to frame things in this world that it's everybody versus the client, which I guess in some respects he's not wrong in that either, right? Because everybody's trying to give his clients the least amount that they can give them for the most part, because if you're a good business, you want to get the best that you can for the least amount that you can spend. But I don't think that there's been this disrespect of Zach LaVine around Chicago, definitely not among the fans. Maybe player-wise, a little bit of disrespect, but I think as far as how he's been on the team, there hasn't been a ton of disrespect. I don't think there's been a ton of media members that have been falsely reporting things that have been going on around Zach LaVine. And I think that when you look at Rich Paul's quote here, it's just like, I'm trying to make Zach LaVine the good guy again, and nobody thinks he's the bad guy.
Yeah, bad guy may be too strong of a word, but I do think that there is a perception right now around Zach LaVine, and some of it just, right? And we've talked about like some criticisms, especially when there's whatever going on, they go too far left as far as that they people make them too much. But there are some legitimate criticisms around LaVine, and I think because of the way that he's talked about as far as like not having any trade value and stuff like that. But this statement wasn't needed for that. Like, I mean, the market's the market. There's nothing that Rich Paul can come out and say publicly that's going to change the trade market for Zach LaVine. The only thing that can is Zach LaVine going out there and playing and showing that he's worth that contract at this point. And otherwise, if I don't know, bro. Like this is a weird situation, and it's weird because of a lot of things. It's not just Zach; it's some of the front office. Everybody has their own part of the blame for where this thing is right now.
100%. I agree with all of that. And I think that's my problem with this. This felt like Rich Paul defending Zach LaVine on something nobody was accusing him of.
It's like when Drake brought up Millie Bobby Brown and nobody had said Millie Bobby Brown at that point. Like, it's like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's been completely professional. Who said he hadn't been professional?
The way to downplay the Kendrick Lamar pedophile claims were not to bring up a 13-year-old kid. You know what I mean? That's like, you ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah, oh, bro, yes. That's one of the greatest shows of all time.
Bro, when he runs in there and he's like, we got to make another song, dude. Like, he's like beat up. He's like, we got to make another song. We don't diddle kids. I wouldn't mess with anybody who's younger than my daughter. Like, that's what Drake did on that. And that's what it feels like Rich Paul is doing here. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, where is this? And maybe it's something behind the scenes. Maybe it's something we're not seeing. Yeah, we're not privy to that other front offices are seeing. So maybe that's why he's defending it. My thing is, I don't think that that's happening within the Chicago Bulls media, the Chicago Bulls organization, where I don't see it. And that's why this feels out of left field to me.
And I think it'd be different. Like, if he wanted to get ahead of something, it would have been better to come out and say, hey, my players, Zach absolutely can contribute to winning. He's ready to lock in defensively if needed. He's ready to play a role. He'll do whatever you call for. Like, that's the way that with what's being talked about, Zach, that it would have made more sense. But to come out and say he's been nothing but professional, I think that is something that people have now. There are some people like during the play when he came back, like, hey, he's purposely not taking shots. He's trying to prove a point. Maybe that's the people he's speaking to, but it's like we're like 6 months removed to that. I don't know when's the last time somebody actually brought that up.
Yeah, I don't personally see it. I don't see it as a problem, and I think that I get it. To me, you know what this is exactly what it's doing. You have to bring up conversation around Zach LaVine. You have to start trying to get his name going in the media again, because this is bad for Rich Paul as well right now, because right now you're in a situation where the two biggest free agents are off the board already, right? With James Harden went back, Paul George is in Philly.
Yep, even LeBron re-signed with the Lakers.
Re-signed. No one's talking about
it's
Zach.
Him and Miles Bridges. Those are the last two big free agents left.
And nobody's talking about Zach LaVine. There hasn't been one outside of Chicago. There hasn't been one article. There hasn't been like there's not big name writers and stuff like that talking about Zach LaVine would fit here. Nobody is.
I mean, you can't even get DeMar like that. There's barely getting that as well.
We've gotten to the point where now, right? What did we get yesterday? Ton of DeMar sign and trade options that teams are more interested in than the 29-year-old Zach LaVine. To me, that's why Rich Paul is doing this at this time. I think that's why you see this focus on trying to address some slander that to me hasn't been there outside of maybe some people on Twitter. But it's much to do about nothing, and you're trying to hype your client's name back up.
If Zach LaVine is still on this roster at the start of the season, do you start him?
How do you not? It sucks, right? Because I think it does affect growth. I think it does affect you moving forward.
Then what do you do? What do you do with Giddey and Kobe then? Is Giddey coming off the bench? Kobe's coming. Are you starting Zach at the 3?
My starting lineup would be Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine. I guess I'm still going P. Will there and Nikola Vucevic. I mean, that's not bad. Like we've seen something. I guess we'll see how it works. And I do wonder if we get to a point where it's just so bad that Zach's just like, let me just win here. And maybe his stuff starts working, right? Like I would assume Zach didn't hate or dislike or have a aversion to being under Billy Donovan when Lonzo was here for the first 35 games.
Yeah,
I would assume he was like, oh, what he's doing is working. Let's go have some. If the Bulls come out and they can actually win some games, which may be worst case scenario Bulls fans, because you may not see as many changes as you think. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we just hear, no, we're fine in Chicago. We're good.
You think it could switch that much to where we'll be good in Chicago?
Winning cures all, my boy.
Winning cures all when you want to win. Like if they start looking at, hey, this top 10 pick next year, we're not going to keep it. Is that enough? Because then at that point, that
depends on how much you're winning. Yeah. Right. That depends on like if you get to the trade deadline and you're freaking 12 games above 500.
If the Bulls are 12 games above 500 at the trade deadline, hey, bro, like I'm wearing a Green Bay Packers shirt on this show. Like that's what it's gonna be. Like
book that. Somebody mark that down and remember that. Me and Haize, neither of us have good memories, but that'll be nuts. That'd be crazy. First off, you'll have to order a Green Bay Packers shirt, which means
because I own nothing Green Bay Packers.
I will accept you just wearing the regular Locked On shirt.
There you go. That's what we'll do. Green Bay Packer colors, because I'm not going to spend my money on any cheesehead gear. But with that said, next we're going to talk about Adama Sanogo re-signing to the Chicago Bulls on a 2-way contract. But before we get into that, I got to talk to you guys about Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game and or event. And Gametime will credit you 100% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and for lower. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, Pat. A player that, I mean, to me, he did everything that you can call and ask him to do in the G League last year. That's Adama Sanogo. Initially thought maybe the Bulls were going to actually bring him up to play some backup center. We end up signing Jalen Smith. So Adama Sanogo does re-sign with the Bulls, but on another 2-way contract. Pat, how do you feel about this and the future of Adama Sanogo? I know you've really over this offseason talked about Adama maybe being ready for some of those backup center minutes, maybe not exclusively the backup center, but some of those minutes. How you feeling?
I think this is the perfect way to re-sign him because when you talk about how Adama can affect a game, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, right? You've got him under contract. Now you know he's on that 2-way deal. This is perfect because if you end up trading Vooch, I've said this, I think I said this a couple of days ago in the episode, I don't think that Vooch is a before the season trade. I think Vooch starts the season on this team. As you go through your season, if Nikola Vucevic is your starting center for, I don't even know, when's the trade deadline now? Like, how many games are you through? Is it 50 games at this point? Like,
yeah, 55 games you're in at the trade deadline. It used to be right at the halfway mark. It's honestly like 2/3 of the way through the season at this point.
Legit. So I think if you talk about being like through 50 games and you trade away Nikola Vucevic, I would say your backup center right now, Jalen Smith, probably backup power forward, backup center. You slide Jalen Smith into that starting role, which we know he can handle those responsibilities as well. We saw him do that down in Indiana. I think then you bring Adama Sanogo up, still on that 2-way deal. He's not going to be over the 60-game threshold, so you won't have to pay him the full contract just yet. I think it works out in your favor. I thought that was a great signing for the Chicago Bulls. I love that you brought him back. In 7 minutes of play last season, Adama Sanogo got 4 points, 4 rebounds.
Really good production per minute. Yeah, but of course there was a 2020 game that kind of inflated that. But Adama Sanogo, to me,
that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
NBA level and gets a 2020 game.
Gets to 2020. Him and Wemby were the only rookies to have 2020 games last season. So, but I look at it, and Adama's the perfect player that you want to give this type of thing. Like, if we're truly getting to the place where the G League is going to be used as a developmental system, Adama Sanogo is the perfect player for that. Yeah, he showed you. He basically dominated the G League in a lot of ways, right? 100%. And so now you go down there, you haven't necessarily moved onto your roster in a way that you're ready to give him that full backup center minutes. So you can still use him, because now it's 65 games you can use a player on a two-way contract before you got to convert him, something like that. So you can get many of looks at him, even if you do want to say, all right, bet we want to give Adama a couple of minutes tonight. You can do that, and you can continue developing him through the G League. And ultimately, if he shows it that it's not a fluke and he dominates again, gets another 18, 19, and 12 and 1.5 blocks. If he does that again,
what his average is? No, he was 20 and 12 with a block a game.
With a block. See, yeah, if you do that again, to me, there should be no third two-way contract, because I think if he does that again, if the Bulls don't give him a full contract, another team's going to come knocking at some point. So
and this is the part that excites me about him, and this is why I like him as a backup big. I don't know if he's a starting big just yet, right? But undersized, right? He'd probably have to play some backup power forward as well, 6'9", but 61% from the field. Over 12 rebounds a game, 6 offensive, 6 defensive at the G League level, 73% from the free throw line. So, like, you're getting a guy in there who is just like, hey, bro, what do we need you to do today? Your job. You go out there, you grab rebounds, you get easy putbacks, and you do your job, and that'll be perfect. And I think that's really what the Bulls just don't have enough of, right? We've got guys who we look at and we say, there's a job available for you. There's a job we need you to do. But I don't think that we have enough guys who we can say, hey, listen, like, this is your job. You go out and do it. I think now you're starting to build that out with Jalen Smith. You're like, hey, listen, your job right now, be the backup big off of the bench until we put you in the starter's role, be solid, and add some size and an ability to run the court. Josh Giddey, pass. That's your job. Like, pass. I don't want to see you do nothing else. If you add anything onto the game, that's phenomenal, but, like, pass. Like, that's what we need the most. And I think Adama Sanogo is another player you can look at and say he just knows his role. And I think that would benefit the Bulls, having somebody like that off of the bench, especially right in what you would think is probably a young team that's moved on from a couple of major pieces, and a guy like Zach LaVine, a guy like Nikola Vucevic, if things go as planned, that hopefully is still in the mix, is still competing. Adama Sanogo brings you a little bit of stability from that G League roster as well as your backup center.
Yeah. I agree with everything that you said there. I like the signing of Adama Sanogo. I would hate if the Bulls let him go and he ends up blossoming elsewhere. And then, as well, with the Bulls going younger, you want to maintain as much young talent as you can and have on your roster to develop. And that's at every level. Yeah, it's some going to be at the NBA level, some's going to be at the G League level, but you want to keep all your young guys that you have, because at 22 years old, he'll be 23 the majority of next season. Like, it's way too early to put a cap on Adama Sanogo. And we saw what he was able to do at college basketball. So
yeah. Oh man, that national championship.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's really why I wanted him and Klingon. Boy, that would have been nuts, bro. Him and Klingon back together on the boards. That would have been, if he had failed just a couple of more spaces, that would have been nuts. But no, I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do, and I'm glad that the Bulls are, and the fact that, you know, they're still basically saying, like, Don't sleep on it. We got to talk about this Bulls Summer League roster. I believe Adama is on there. We may have a Summer League championship coming our way, my boy.
It feels like a Denzel Washington Summer League season.
Feels like a Denzel Washington Summer League team, bro. Like, we might see some pieces on there. We like, oh, Henry Drell. By the way, Henry Drell was who I was thinking of the other day when I was trying to think of the white dude that could shoot, and he played with us for a little bit. Henry Drell was the dude I was trying to think of. Shout out Henry Drell. He'd be knocking down the 3-ball. That's it. I don't have no ad read. Let's get to the next.
Well, you got to do the thing. Yeah, I'll do it. Don't worry.
Oh, my bad. Well, you got to do the thing.
I got it. It's all right. Don't worry about it. That's why we're a team here at Locked On Bulls. But with that said, Pat, we now know the Summer League roster for the Chicago Bulls. No real surprises on this one. at all, considering that the Bulls had one undrafted rookie that they signed to an Exhibit 10 deal. Domas, he's on here. Busilis is on here. Damas Sanogo's on here. No Dalen Terry, which at the age Dalen Terry is, he's 3 years in the league. Not a lot of people do that, but Julian Phillips is on here. Andrew Funk, Henry Drell, as you already mentioned, Javonte Smith, Nathan Knight, DJ Stewart, Chase Audence, and Garrison Brooks, Summer League roster.
Is Tyler Thomas any relation to Tyrus Thomas?
I would hope not, because if he is, then he can get off the team right now.
He's going to be jumping at pump fakes all day long. No, I think. Listen, good roster. Good to see this selection of guys there. Little surprised, no Dalen on this list.
Most people third year in the NBA don't do summer league, so I'm not surprised. Like the Bulls may have been like, "Hey, Dalen, you want to do summer league?" No, I'm going to keep working out.
Is Dalen not enough to not do it though?
I mean, listen, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
We've
the only player that the last time I can remember a Bulls player going into the summer league, going into their third year, was Joakim Noah, but that was because he wanted to play with Derrick Rose to acclimate to Derrick Rose.
No, what's his name did? Who's old boy that I've forgotten completely at this point because he got dunked on so much.
Marko Simonovic was only here 2 years, so he didn't do it his third year.
But didn't he play? I thought he played 1 year that he wasn't here. I thought he came over just for summer league. I might be wrong.
No, you may be right.
I thought he played because remember he wasn't here the year we drafted him.
Did he come over that year?
He came over the year after. I think after we drafted him. I may be wrong on that. Who cares? He was never on the court enough. But that's the most we ever saw him on the court. He was balling. He was balling on that mug. But no, I think the thing for me with the summer league is good to see the collection of guys that you think. I think you've got for sure. Julian Phillips is on the team. We know Adama Sanago is a two-way guy. Matas Buzelis will be on the team, so it'll be good to see him. Mm-hmm. I think you have Marcus Damask, who has a shot to definitely make the Windy City Bulls and possibly be able to get on a two-way deal here. And Henry Drell will be back. Andrew Funk as well. Like, shout out to both of them.
Well, we only got 3 two-way deals, and Funk is already signed on one, and we got Adama. So it's going to come down to Henry Drell and Domas.
I would rather see Damask. I like Marcus Damask's game. I mean, y'all know me, big Illinois fan, and to me, he's a player who he uses his body really well, is strong in the lane, very smart player. Got a nice little turnaround J that he can drop on you anytime he wants to. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's got a lot of game. To me, he's got game that translates to the NBA. And he's very similar in speed wise to me, though, to Dalton Connect. That was always my wonder, right? Are you going to be quick enough? And he doesn't have a torch like Connect does. Okay. So it's like, are you going to be quick enough to get past guys at the NBA level? Because even at college, he struggled with getting past guys. He
made what, all Big Ten team, or like he was like Mr. All Big Ten or something like that.
Yeah. Marcus Damask got some. He's got some accolades. He's a really nice player. I was excited to see the Bulls pick him up. Yeah, we didn't get the Illinois guy I wanted. I saw him in a Minnesota jersey yesterday and was upset.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got Buzelis, but man, TSJ in a Bulls jersey would have been absolutely nuts. But no, the thing about Damascus, he's another guy like Sanago. He's a 5-year player in college. He spent 4 years at Southern Illinois, spent 1 year at Illinois. Just a guy who knows how to win. Just a guy who knows what he needs to do, knows how to knock down shots, knows how to get out there. Like I said, not
some legit shooter. Size on that wing, 6'6", 215 pounds, like nice wingspan. Like you said, that isn't a 3-point shooter. But he can hit the 3-point shot. I'm just saying he's not like a Donovan Connect 3-point shooter. Yeah, I mean, listen, solid guy. The type of guy that you want to bring in. He is 24 years old, but is the type of guy you want to take a shot at. That's what the G League is for. So,
which you don't care about, right? You never expect him to be a star. So at 24 years old, if it takes him 2 years to develop and he comes off your bench in 2 years at 26 and he's knocking down, mid-range shots, maybe he's added more of a 3-pointer in there, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, good job. Here we go. We found a nice piece. But I think that outside of everybody else on that summer league list, I think you got the makings of a nice team. I do want to see the thing I'm going to be watching for most is the shot of Julian Phillips. How much has that improved in 2 years?
Yeah, we haven't really. So we've seen Dalen. We haven't seen much or heard much from Julian Phillips. And the reason why I bring that up is that Julian did end the season injured, and we haven't heard anything about him. But if he's on this summer league roster, that means they feel confident about him being ready by training camp. But like you said, you want to see, for a player that actually was drafted and does have an NBA deal, you want to see him come into summer league and show. He showed it in G League last year. It was very early on. You could tell that Julian Phillips was above the competition in G League. You want to see that again in summer league as well. So
no, 100%. And I mean, listen, this is also, I would think Julian is ahead of anybody else on this list, but this is also like Julian may be back in the G League if Matas Buzelis balls out here.
I don't know. I think he either.
Julian,
I mean, he may play.
You're going to put the first round pick on the roster.
Well, I mean, he's going to be on the roster. But that's the question. Isn't this Matas Buzelis? Matas Buzelis is going to be on the roster regardless. Yeah. But I do think that before he went down on injury, we did start seeing Billy Donovan actually trust Julian Phillips. It wasn't like he was just putting him out there in garbage time. Julian Phillips was into the game at the end of first quarters at times before he went down. So I think because of that trust that was already there with Billy Donovan, he may have an inside edge to get some minutes. I'm not saying he's going to be above Buzelis, but I do think that he's going to get some NBA minutes, and as long as he comes in, looks good, and he's healthy. So
let's just not make Matas the least played number 11th overall pick ever. Let's just not do that.
I mean, Zach LaVine's back. You never know, bro. Like this, the rotations are going to be so interesting to watch.
I have no idea. Like somebody asked me when I was live the other day about like, what do you think the rotation is going to be? I'm like, I have no idea. I know what I think the starting lineup is going to be, and I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's questions everywhere with this team, but hey, man. Not bad. We're almost here. Summer League starts in what? 10 days? 12 days? Like
that. So, yeah, that. And then we got football training camps open up in 15 days for the Bears. Like, we almost back full time, brother.
You're almost back, man. It has been I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, it's weird. I can't wait till we're at the point where we can enjoy the time off, where we're not like
it's never gonna happen, bro.
It's probably not. It never is. It never is.
Way too many shows for us to ever get to that point.
I'm just trying to do shows from like Cabo every year. You know what I mean? That's the goal. I mean, I can take the setup with me. I can fly camera equipment with me and be like, oh, hold on, let me take a step away from this drink real quick and hop on ESPN.
No, what do you mean? If we reach that point, we're drinking our drinks while we're streaming, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Like, out the pineapple, whole pineapple in our hand, bro.
Baby.
Send us off, Pat, man.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love.
And you guys can follow me at CEO Haize. I want to thank you guys for tuning in Locked On Bulls. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls. We out here, y'all.
Peace.